These rackets have just one hole, but that is not the most important thing, because these are the lightest rackets in the world, and that is really good news for a lot of people. But Newton already thought of this many years ago, even though he didn't play padel. So do you want to know how much they weigh and how the new Head One Ultralight performs? And what is the difference with the Extreme One? Hello all players, I'm Pablo and I welcome you to a new 4Set. Head has just launched the world's lightest racket for adults. But what does it mean to be an adult racket? Well, it means it has a 38mm frame, since junior rackets are usually around 33 or even less. The One Ultralight comes in a minimalist, almost futuristic design. And actually there are two versions, one in black and one in white, but is there any difference between them? Well, no, because the racket is the same, the only thing that changes is the color. And I have to confess that I play with the white one because of my football preferences. So subscribe to the channel if you prefer the black one and like the video if you prefer the white one. Well, the One Ultralight has 12K carbon just like the Extreme One. But don't you see the carbon looks different? They're both 12K, but the difference is the density. The 12K filaments in each carbon strand can be woven more or less tightly. If you wave them more tightly, you get smaller squares and increase the stiffness like in the Extreme One. But if you wave them less tightly, the stiffness decreases like in the Ultralight. So based on the carbon, the Extreme One is going to be stiffer than the Ultralight. But for the experts, check out the sound of each racket. Don't you notice how the Ultralight has a very unique sound? Because it feels different from any other racket. But there is one point where many still have doubts. Are rackets with just one hole allowed? Well, yes, they are allowed, and actually that is the minimum number of holes required in a racket. Plus Head used the minimum allowed diameter, which is 9mm. So Pablo, what are the benefits of having only one hole? Well, mainly it makes the racket much more durable because most rackets break between the holes where the material is weaker. At the same time, not having holes make it harder to generate spin on the ball. In tennis, the strings create spin when hitting the ball, but in padel, it's the holes that do it. So on this racket and the Extreme One, since there are no holes, they needed extra roughness to help with spin. In this case it's sandy, while on the Extreme One is 3D. Although the sandy roughness is more effective initially, it wears down with use, so over time it will be harder to generate spin with this racket. Another difference from the Extreme One is that the Ultralight is round and has a 13.5cm grip, one of the longest on the market. But a similarity between both models is that they use this gel back cap, which is super comfortable and reduces vibrations. And now the $1,000,000 question, how much does the world's lightest racket weigh? Well, it's only 300 grams. To be honest, this black one weighs 299 and the white weighs 306. And if we compare it with the Extreme One, this weighs 340. So Pablo, is not 300 grams too light for a padel racket? Well, actually it depends on who's using it. For example, when I started playing padel, I used my friend's racket, but the first one that I bought was this head racket used by Bella. I bought it because Bella used it and I wanted to play like him, so I didn't care how technical or heavy it was. But the truth is that this racket didn't do me any favors at that point in time. Because this racket weighs 371 grams and it was very technical, and actually it even broke between the holes. But the Ultralight is designed for the opposite, it's for beginners players. Being able to move the racket easily, especially if you haven't played racket sports before, can be crucial for avoiding injuries and enjoy the game right from the start. That said, even though it's designed for beginners, it costs 180 euros with the code 4Set at Padel Market. It's not a cheap racket for a beginner, but it's definitely a premium racket given its concept and technologies. But can a light racket have power? Let's remember what Newton said. Force equals mass times acceleration. So if you can accelerate a heavier racket just as fast as the One Ultralight, you will get more power. But my issue is that I cannot accelerate, for example, Coelho's racket as fast because of its weight and balance. and that is why you usually look for lighter rackets. So I wanted to test the power difference between the Ultralight and the Extreme one. I did 5 smashes with each and took the average distance of my smash. The Extreme one won, but the Ultralight wasn't far behind. But Pablo, is the Ultralight a powerful racket? Well, not really, but I will tell you more after testing it on the court. Because before that, I wanted to see how the Ultralight's rough surface compares to the Extreme one. So I tried some drop shots with both rackets, and like I said earlier, the Ultralight's rough surface lets you feel the ball more. Actually, you don't miss the holes, but it's true that over time the surface will wear out, and that's when you will struggle more. The Extreme one's 3D roughness is not the best, but it helps you feel the ball and hit decent drop shots. And now let's see how those 300 grams of the Ultralight perform in defense, volleys and overhead shots. And starting with defense, the first thing you will notice is that is a very comfortable racket. Despite having a balance of 27 centimeters, it is definitely the most agile racket that I've tried. Actually, you won't feel late to any shot because of the racket, and you won't feel physically tired. At lower speeds, the ball output is good, but when you want to hit harder, the racket doesn't respond as well. You can feel the racket absorbing some of the power and the ball loses a bit of speed. It is true that you don't need to focus on hitting a specific spot of the racket because the Ultralight sweet spot is very large. And what about volleys? Because it's really similar to defense. The agility in preparing your shots is perfect, but the racket doesn't transfer as much speed to the ball in an offensive volley. But remember, we are talking about a beginner racket, so in my opinion it serves its purpose. During volleys, you will notice the rough surface is in perfect condition at the beginning, and you can easily apply a spin to the ball without missing the holes. But what about bandejas and víboras? Well, I like it even more here because agility is even more important for me. Think that the preparation for a bandeja is longer than for a volley, so you really feel the Ultralight's lightness. You will not be late to hit the ball and you will not feel tired. Plus, since it's a round racket with a large sweet spot, you won't be penalized at all. But the same issue arises. No matter how hard you try, you won't get a very aggressive bandeja or víbora. And for smashes, as we saw earlier, the Ultralight doesn't stand out that much. It's nice to be able to move it so easily, but the Extreme one behaves the same way and has more power. But now it's time to summarize and give my final scores for the Ultralight. And first, hats off to Head for innovating and launching the lightest racket on the market. With just one hole, it's practically unbreakable, but it will be hard to apply spins once the sandy roughness wears off. It is a beginner's racket thanks to its largest sweet spot and especially its agility, but it lacks in high intensity shots. Because it is so light, you won't feel tired while playing, making it a great option for coaches or people with elbow or shoulder issues. Well, do you have any question regarding the new Head One Ultralight? Leave it in the comments and thank you so much for watching the video. See you in the next one. Ciao!